Don't you love corn? If you do, let's make something really easy with it. Creamed corn. It doesn't have to come out of a can. It doesn't have to be frozen. It's so easy to make. 4 ingredients. Let's go. I've got 6 ears of corn here. I think this is bicolored, but any of it will work. And all you're going to do is peel it back, but I like to leave the leaves part on because it gives me a handle. Now, there's many ways of getting the corn kernels off, so if you have a different way that you like better, that's fine. Take off the silk. Now, you can do it with a knife like this, which is how I was taught. If the kernels go bouncing all over your board, you could lay a towel down. Some people like to do this over a bundt pan that's upside down, like in a bowl, or not upside, yeah, upside down. And that way the kernels kind of land in the bowl. I mean, all of that, it helps, but then you still have to clean your board, and then you still have to clean those other 2 things. So a lot of times I just do it like this, and I go pretty close to the actual cob part. And save this, we're not quite done with this, but we'll do the same thing to each one first because it's more efficient. Another method that's popular, and if you love corn and maybe you have a garden or you put corn up in the freezer a lot, a tool like this can be really useful because then the corn kind of stays put better. It's called a corn zipper. There's a lot of companies. This one happens to be from Wolfgang Puck. Love him. And then you just drag it. That's why I like to leave the leaves on because, the blades are sharp. So if you can give yourself a handle to keep away from the kernels, it's really great. But all you're going to do is put it on kind of like a vegetable peeler and just pull. But see how it doesn't go flying all over the place? It's pretty nice. I mean, it is a unitasker, but if you love corn, this could be a really useful tool for you. So once you've got all the corn cut off of the cobs, take either the back of your knife or a spoon or a butter knife and drag it down the kernel, each side of drag it down each part of the cob and see all this stuff that it's taken off. Some people call that corn milk, but what it has in it, it's a lot of corn flavor, but there's a lot of cornstarch in there. So if you don't like using a knife, you could use a spoon just like this. It's sort of, the bowl part of it, what I like is that it kind of captures the liquid that's spraying off and keeps it from flying all over your kitchen, maybe a little bit better than a knife. And if you don't like that method, a butter knife works really well too. Just kind of choke up on it pretty close. I like all of these methods. I typically use the back of my knife just because I've already used it, and then that's the only part that I have to clean. And if you're getting the drift here, I love the cooking part, but not so much the cleanup. So I can avoid a lot of dirty dishes. I do. What about you? How do you feel about dishes? I'm not crazy about them. It's a necessary part of cooking. But so once you've got all that done, see, this is all the corn that we took off, and then see all this runnier stuff? That's the part where we milked it off the cob, and that's going to add lovely flavor to this homemade cream corn. All right, so let's scrape up every bit of this into a skillet. I've got just a skillet here, and notice it's going into a cold pan.
What's that you're using?
Oh, this is like a bench scraper, or some people call it a prep taxi, food scoop. If you find any little bits of the husk or leaves, just pick them out. I don't mind a little bit of the silk. You're going to have a little bit in there, but I kind of like it. The silk tastes sweet too, Anybody else love eating raw corn? I sure do. Right off the cob, right in the garden, right from the grocery store. I love the milky crunch of raw corn. So let me know if you like to eat it raw too. So we're going to add a little bit of butter. You could skip this because there's going to be cream next, but I love the taste that cultured butter gives. So just maybe it's about 1.5 tablespoons for 6 ears of corn. And next we're going to add some salt to taste. This is Celtic sea salt, maybe 2 pinches. And then just one more ingredient, and that's just a splash of cream, not too much. That was less than 1/4 cup. And then turn your heat on. I'm going to about medium. And we're just going to stir this. And you're going to watch the liquidy part of the corn because it has all that lovely built-in cornstarch, is going to thicken this into that familiar texture that creamed corn has. But if you've only eaten creamed corn out of a can, this is not that. This is something so special. Like, it's the essence of corn, but in a form where you can just eat it with a fork instead of biting it off the cob. It's night and day different from that. Even the kind they sell, one at least here in the South where I live in Florida, they sell a Southern brand that's frozen in a big tube, kind of like a tube of sausage. It's good. It's better than the stuff in the can, but it's changed, and now they're adding corn syrup, which I don't like that taste at all. To me, it has a specific taste that's not pleasant. And they also add modified cornstarch, which I don't really know why they have to do that, because corn naturally has that in it, especially fresh corn when you're doing it this way. But those, I used to love it when I was a kid. My husband too. We thought creamed corn out of a can was great. But once you've made the real stuff and you see how simple it is, it doesn't make any sense for it to be frozen or in a can unless you made it yourself and you know what the ingredients are. If you like yours really smooth, you could transfer this to a blender or a food processor. I don't usually do that just because of the, it's a simple dish, and then you're making a lot of dirty dishes that aren't really necessary in my opinion. But if you do want that, there's a couple of ways you can do it right in the skillet. If you have a potato masher, that works really well. You can start kind of squeezing down some of the kernels. That'll pop them and release some of the juices that are inside and make it a more smooth texture, less whole kernels. Like I said, I love that. So it's a personal preference. If you have one of these pestles, I think I got this for making smash burgers. And then I think I never actually used it for smash burgers. But this works really well too. You could use a fork. That works well too. It's just a little bit slower. Or you can just leave it. The choice is yours. This works just as well too. So you can feel it under your fork kind of popping those kernels and letting out more of the juices. So there is a subtle color change that happens, a translucency that you'll see happening with each of the kernels. They'll turn a little bit more yellow. Hey, save me a piece of that corn for later. So once you can see that the bubbles are nice and thick and it's turned translucent, it's time to give it a taste to see if you need to correct seasoning. It might need a little bit more salt. I doubt it'll need sugar because it's kind of sweet. Oh my gosh. Wow. Pinch more salt. And so while that's doing that last little bit of simmering, let's cut up some chives for the top. I love chives with this because it lets the sweet corniness be the star, but that little bite of fresh onion taste is so complimentary to it. Of course, it's optional. If you don't want to do that, you don't have to. When I buy fresh herbs at the store, because they're pretty expensive and they have kind of a short shelf life, I like to do this. I wrap them up in a damp paper towel and then store them inside of a bag with enough air. It does prolong the shelf life a little bit. And if you keep a towel like that wrapped around it, it makes a nice handle for while you're doing the choppings, because something like chives is so, they like to fly all over the place, right? So just expose a little bit. And then this is a great handle. Cut one edge clean. And this is just for presentation. I would not throw that away. If I wasn't using it as a garnish, I would definitely use those somewhere else. And then get your fingers in a claw, but really close, and you're going to compress downward so that this stays tight. And then just chop. And I like a rocking motion like that. And just go slow so that you can make them nice and even. And then move your fingers back as you get a little bit closer. We don't need very much. Here, honey, this one's for you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Holy cow, that's really good.
Give it a try.
Oh,
it's simple, purely delicious. Love you.
Love you too.